The Snyder Cut is officially here, and if you happen to recall, one of my very first videos was actually talking about the Snyder Cut. So now that it's actually here and it's officially out, I've got a lot of opinions going on, just rattling around in my brain, so let me lay them out for you. Meatball. How do I even start a video about something as unique and as one-of-a-kind as the Snyder Cut? I mean, I guess the first thing I should probably warn you about is that this review does contain spoilers, and secondly, is that this review isn't really a review, it's more of a collection of thoughts and opinions. But of course, there's going to be one question on everybody's mind: did this improve on the original Justice League film? And I mean, yeah, it did. It would be hard not to. It fixed the awful coloring, took out Whedon's more uncomfortable scenes, and overall was Zack Snyder's image through and through. And if I'm perfectly honest, I went into this movie ready to be let down. I'm not really a big fan of Snyder's work on DC movies. He has had amazing progression as a director and as a person over the years. I just don't think he understands any character other than Superman very well, especially not Batman.
Someone says to me like, oh, like Batman killed a guy. I'm like, fuck. Really? I'm like, wake up. It's like, yes. It's like, yes.
Yeah, Zack Snyder still just does not get Batman. But like at this point, the Ben Affleck Batman is nothing more than a dope suit, a great actor, and a mold, okay? A mold that gets passed between directors to be whatever they need right now. Is that what I want for Batman? Hell no. But I honestly don't view this character as a regular Batman anymore. He's an amalgamation of intense iterations of the Dark Knight, a brutal Cape Crusader from an Elseworld story. And I mean, I love him for that. The Ben Affleck Batman has really grown on me over the years. It's just you can't treat him like a regular Batman anymore. But hey, I gotta say, I think that in this movie, the other characters were handled excellently, and none more so than Victor Stone and Wally West.
But Ethan, the Flash in this movie is Barry Allen, not Wally West.
I know, we'll get to that, but Cyborg first. Listen, the people who told you that this was going to be Cyborg's movie weren't lying. Instead of just sulking around and coming out of nowhere, he had like deep complex emotions and a deep complex relationship with his deadbeat dad. I especially love the little inside Victor's head moments. They're great examples of visual storytelling, and they do actually come back around at the climax of the film. My favorite scene of this had to just be him understanding that he had the entire world under his thumb, then uses his extensive reach to just help out a struggling family. That perfectly encapsulates the kind of person Victor Stone is on the inside. And now, Wally West. Yes, this is Wally. I know they call him Barry, and he's got a dad in prison, and he's got dark hair, but for all intents and purposes right now, this is Wally West. Ezra Miller is practically playing Wally West, and he has some of the best scenes in this 4-hour-long superhero kebab. For instance, if we're just going lighthearted here, the hot dog scene had me and my buddy genuinely laughing out loud. His kiddish energy, lack of experience, even the way he specifically mentioned twice how he has a rule against going too fast and messing with the timeline, that's all Wally, that's not Barry. They wrote Wally West, but structured him around a Barry Allen scenario. Kind of like how Cassandra Cain in Birds of Prey is more like Stephanie Brown, or how Tim Drake in Batman the Animated Series is basically a watered-down Jason Todd. They do this all the time, where they write characters like other people and then just switch them to a more recognizable name. Like, they didn't want to put Wally West in this film because everybody knows right now the main Flash is Barry Allen because of the CW TV show. Barry, Wally, whatever you want to call him, was definitely one of my favorite characters in this whole movie. But hey, while we're talking about characters, can I mention how much of an improvement this Steppenwolf is? He's not the most dynamic villain we've ever had, but he definitely had more emotion than the first time. I honestly felt for him during those demonic FaceTime scenes. He truly felt like a bit more of a tragic outcast who I really wish they did more with. Yeah, even though it was a 4-hour movie, they definitely could have done a lot more with his character just to make him, you know, maybe a little bit more likable, maybe a little bit more tragic, add in more of that backstory and like how he got banished. But hey, From a comic fan's point of view, he serves his purpose well, and he got the perfect ending for what kind of character he was. I mean, Darkseid in this movie, man, he was something else. So clearly, I have a lot of positive things to say about this movie. But it wasn't all hot dogs and rainbows, so let me just mellow out this mood by telling you some of the things I didn't really like. This is mostly just gonna be nitpicking, and like my bigger, just like, why did Snyder decide to keep this in after 4 years, part of the video. First of all, Snyder's pacing has never failed to be just a little bit off from where it probably should be. A lot of people had issues with the overall pacing of this movie. I thought it was mostly fine, but then we get scenes like when Aquaman goes back into the ocean and then everybody starts singing in slow motion. It was cringy and awkward and very out of place, and it really made the first half of the movie drag. Wonder Woman murdered a couple of people, which, you know, that's normal for her, but this time she did it in front of some kids when she could have just easily tied up the guys or like knocked them out or something. And then the kids don't seem to mind too much. I mean, yeah, this is a total nitpick, like if it's the only way to like stop the people who are trying to kill the kids, then yeah, kill them, but the kids shouldn't be happy about it. They shouldn't be, I want to be just like you, Wonder Woman. Like, that's probably gonna scar them. Like, they saw men die in front of them. Like, does she not care about the kids' well-being? Also, just let me say one more thing about this scene, I'm sorry. The fighting choreography, I guess it's effective, it's really funny to me for some reason. It just looks a little too ridiculous. Taking a little break from Wonder Woman for a minute, they hyped up the Flying Fox for absolutely no reason and treated it like it was a much bigger plot point than it actually was. Like, if you don't know, that's just that box with wings that Batman has that carries them for like 5 minutes. But they talk about it and mention it repeatedly throughout the movie. I guess DC wanted to have a kind of Quinjet and like have this big thing like Marvel. But the best thing about the Quinjet is that they don't make a big deal about the Quinjet just being a Quinjet. Like, the fact that they drew too much attention to it was the problem. And the music cues. The music cues were really out of nowhere in this film. Sometimes they'd have actual parodies of songs just playing, and every time Wonder Woman came on screen, there was an opera scream that looked like she was yelling, but it turns out she wasn't, and it was just laughable and distracting. I can't play it here because of copyright reasons, but yeah, it was just an odd choice that kind of broke my immersion. The color grading in the original Justice League movie was just god-awful, and here it was mostly fixed, but some scenes felt almost undersaturated, if that makes sense, and that really opposed like Wheaton's bright red and blue mess. It just feels like there was definitely like a perfect medium that they were really close to getting, but they just took too much of the color out. But hey, if that's a problem for you, you can always watch the black and white version of this film that exists for some reason. I'm sure there's a reason to make a black and white version of this film. It just feels like Zack Snyder is trying to be the edgy indie kid in the film industry now, and I'm here for it. Since we're on the technical side of things, I laughed when I saw that this was a 4:3 aspect ratio. I mean, my eyes adapted eventually, but still, just a weird choice. And yeah, this is a pretty long movie. It's 4 hours and like 2-3 minutes, and that's definitely going to be a downer for a lot of people, but not for me. We waited for 4 years to see this thing. I think it fully deserves the runtime it uses. There's nothing in this version of the film I would actually personally cut out. Overall, did I love it? Yeah, actually I kinda did. This is a shock, but I had a blast watching it. Okay, and honestly here guys, since Infinity War was spoiled for me, this is basically the best first time viewing I had of a superhero movie since 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, that's pretty high praise. This movie was just a roller coaster of emotions. I know that's overused, but it really was. It was a truly awesome mess of a film that I am so happy I got to experience. I mean, I didn't think we were ever going to be actually able to see this, and realistically, I know I should give it like a 5 out of 7, but I'm not actually going to give it a score. I know I probably should, and I know I probably should just give it a 5 out of a 7, but like, some films are just so unique, they kind of transcend the name a number out of another number, and it's such a one-of-a-kind, jaw-dropping experience, and it really should stay that way. If you enjoyed this movie the same way I did, why bother dragging it down with a number? The Snyder Cut is probably my favorite Zack Snyder movie now, and it was well worth the wait. I bet you thought I wasn't going to talk about it, but I am, okay? This is good. The Snyder Cut improved on the past DCEU properties so much that I actually kind of enjoyed Jared Leto's Joker here, even though we only saw him for a few minutes at the end. I'm just excited to see more of him and Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke and whatever Justice League movie comes next.
Fingers crossed it's a good one.